Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another installment of Flyera Gonna Flyera. It is our 59th episode. We're calling this one Tocchet Turbulence, and might be a little bit of a giveaway exactly what we're about to talk about. We're going to go over last week's games, some issues that we might be having with Rick Tocchet a little bit, or just a generalization talk about Tocchet. We'll get into that. We had a fan mail question this week, so we had a few answers back to that. So we're going to get to those, answer some fan mail, and then, as usual, we're going to do our weekly predictions for next week's games. So this should be a good one. As always, I have one of my two gracious co-hosts with me, the man to my bottom right-hand corner right now. You know him, you love him, Mr. Eric Martino. Eric, how you doing tonight, bud?
Oh man, not bad, Alex. Doing pretty good. I'll be honest, it's a little chilly here in Montreal, so that's why I'm wearing my nice little Flyers toque here.
I should be wearing a hat today with how my damn hair is. It's all freaked up. I need a haircut. That's all that just told me. My hair's all messed up. Freaking. I had to rush over to a city almost an hour away today. And so I woke up, showered, rushed over there because I had to deposit some money into my bank because where I work is where my bank is. And usually I'm there Monday through Friday anyway, but I had to put some money in today. So I had to deposit some money, and it's about maybe not an hour, probably close to 45-minute drive. And it's just a pain in the butt going all the way back and forth. So I had to deal with that today too. So, but it is starting to get a little chilly here too. My girlfriend's family's home is always usually loaded with rabbits, and they're not popping out anymore.
No, it's freezing, and my daughter had a game this morning, like early, like at 9 in the morning. We had to leave like around 7:30. It was freezing. But hey, that said, though, hey, I just want a little shout out. My daughter 2-0 this weekend. She had a game Saturday, Sunday, 2-0 shutout on Saturday, 2-1 win today. Let's go.
Baby Martino with her first career shutout, as we heard on social media. Support for daughter Martino. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's your daughter's name?
Amelia
Martino. 1,000 save percentage. Doesn't get any better than that.
Nope.
All righty. With that being said, let's get right into this. Flyers had 4 games last week. That 2-1 trend, in a way, kind of continued. This week it was 2-1 in 1 because they played 4 games. And as we said going into the week, we get 2-1 every week, looking pretty good. Flyers now reside with a record of 8-5-2. Leading off with Sunday's game against Calgary, because as you know, we recorded last Saturday after the Isles game, so we did not do a prediction on the Calgary game. Actually, no, they didn't play the Isles last Saturday. That was the week before that. Who did they play last Saturday? I remember. Was it Toronto?
It was Toronto. I think so.
Yeah, it was Sunday morning after. I apologize. It was Sunday morning after the Toronto game, before the Calgary game. So this will be a little bit more in tune. But anyway, that Calgary game was a bore, and that just felt like one of those games the team just did not show up to play. First period was the definition of boring. They only had 3 shots on net. Calgary, who, mind you, is a team that was averaging barely over 2 goals a game going into it, outshot them 10-3, completely controlled pace. The Flyers, yet again, this is starting to become a theme now, having very slow starts coming out of the gate for the majority of games. Not every game, but the majority. Didn't really show much in that first period until end of the first. Still scoreless, but you could tell Calgary came with their legs. Calgary, also like the Flyers, was coming off of a back-to-back and actually traveled, unlike the Flyers. So I'm not giving them that excuse that, they're coming off a back-to-back. No, you got to be ready to play in that situation. Both teams had a back-to-back, so don't give me that BS. Second period came along. This game, Kolosov was in net, and I have to say, he looked pretty well. I had no issue with how he played at all. He only allowed 2 goals. Neither of them were his fault. Second period, Calgary gets on the board off of a snipe from Jonathan Huberdeau, beats Kolosov. Not much he could have did about the goal at the time. Flyers, again, just didn't really look like they responded. I believe the goal came off the rush, if I remember correctly. But Calgary does take a 1-0 lead, and the Flyers, again, just looked lackadaisical. Like they didn't really have much of a jump, much of a response. They leading into the third, it was more of the same, just more Calgary controlling play. The Flyers being really unable to do much. Huberdeau potted another one to make it 2-0. Again, not one I really blame on Kolosov. And then the Flyers kind of finally started getting a spark in the later stage, the second half of the third period. Finally comes back with a Konechny goal right off the draw, making it 2-1 with a little over 5 minutes left, but they couldn't bury another one. Calgary wins that one 2-1. It was a game they just looked flat for the large majority of the game. They didn't have their legs on them. They weren't sustaining much pressure. And it's a game that you point at when the Flyers are losing, it seems like they're not getting a lot of shots on net. They're not getting much volume. They only had 18 shots in this game. Although the Tocchet game, in that standard at least. Eric, what's your take on the game?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, you said it, man. You said, Alex. Dude, that game was boring. Like, so boring. And it's actually funny because most, like, and the thing is, I don't even think Calgary played that well.
No, it was more the Flyers were sleepwalking more than what Calgary did.
Yeah, and I was surprised because when I went to go look at some of the stats and some of the numbers for that game, and I figured it would already either be like even possession wise, like maybe a 50-50 possession game, or slightly under for the Flyers. The Flyers had a 58% expected goals percentage. That game somehow
didn't feel like that.
So it did not feel like that at all. Yeah, look, yeah, like you said, coming off a back-to-back, but again, not an excuse because so is Calgary. The one thing I have to say that really bothered me about this game, and we'll talk about it a bit later, but when we talk about Tocchet, but I think, like, look, I don't think, first of all, I just want to say this. I don't think Tocchet's a bad coach. I think he's fine, whatever. But I think this game, that Calgary game, was probably his worst coached game, like, so far this season. I strongly believe that. Like, the lines going into that game just made absolutely no sense. You overloaded the first line with Zegras, TK, and Coots. Then you give Mishkov, Devo, and Abels. Like, give him at least another skilled player on that line. Then you put Tippett with Brink. Kate's okay, fine, whatever. Like, especially what bothered me, and like some people came at me, whatever, when I put that on Twitter, like, oh, because the lines like lost them the game, right? That's not the point. It's not the point. The point is you're coming off a back-to-back. Okay, you just lost Tyson Forrester. Usually good chances are your guys are a little tired. Why are you switching up the lines? It makes no sense. Go with what you know. Your first and second line would not have changed. Forster got hurt. That affects the third line, or the quote-unquote second line, wherever you want to call it. The Cates line. That's all it affects. You move up Grabenkin to take Forster's spot, and you put Gaucher on the fourth. Yes. You have chemistry. You have players that know what they're doing with each other, that know how to play off of each other, because you saw that it worked. But no, let's completely shuffle the lines to start the game. So that's one. Two, another thing that's starting to become a bit of an issue with this team is slow starts. Mm-hmm. It's slowly starting to creep in. And again, so a slow start. The team was not ready to start the game. The lines made no sense. And then, like, the first period already, you see that it's not going well. It's not going well. Why don't you you already shuffled the lines. Shuffle them again. Like, at least by midway through the second, the line should have been changed.
Yes.
No. They're only changed in the third period. And that's when the Flyers started playing better. They got better in the third period. I think that's probably why the possession numbers skewed a little bit more towards the Flyers, because I thought they really had a really good third. But you know what? Too little, too late. Sorry. What are you going to do?
Big issue to me in this game, you mentioned it there with the line combinations. I did not like the Dvorak, Michkov, Abels line and all. That just made no sense to me, putting Rodrigo Abels on a line with Matvei Michkov. I was having PTS flashbacks from last season when Torts did that consistently, when he put him with Abels and Paling at the time. I didn't understand that. Now, I've been someone who has been adamant all year about breaking up the Forster-Cates break line. But you hit the hammer on the nail there. When you lose a significant winger to injury, and going into that game, they had been playing decent hockey. Yeah, they kind of had a bad game against Toronto. I feel like they didn't play as bad as the numbers speculate in that Toronto game. But it
was a very even game.
Yeah, exactly. Why are you throwing the lines into a blender just there? I did not understand that. You now put Cates and Brink, who are two guys of similarity. Grabankin is a big body. That Tyson Forster is a big body. I know Grabankin isn't the same type of player as Forster's, but at least you have a stronger physical type guy to fill in Tyson Forster's spot. Yeah, he's not Tyson Forster. We know that. But putting Grabankin with Cates and Brink would have made so much sense, at least in terms of keeping legitimate chemistry together. Zegras, Michkov, and Dvorak seemed like a line that had been working. Michkov, I believe, up to that point had 4 points in 4 games with those three combined. Why split them off of one loss? That seemed like a John Tortorella-esque move where you're kind of overcompensating in the heat of the moment. And then, yet again, we're doing this Couturier, Konechny, Tippett line, which just has not clicked all year. It just has not. So, I just didn't understand all the line shuffling. They kind of changed it a bit going into the Montreal game. That made me feel a little bit better. Still wasn't great, but better, which will lead us right into this Montreal game. Before we move on, Eric, do you have anything to add with that abysmal Calgary snore fest?
No, I just say like you got pointed out. I just want to say too, like, got to give the guy some props. Kolosov did have a pretty strong game.
He did. He was not the issue at all. Both goals I watched there. Not his fault. The first goal, there was 3 or 4 bodies in front of him, and he was completely screened. You can't put that on him at all. Mm-hmm. And the second goal, I believe, was trickled. So really can't give him much, if any, blame at all for that either. So not his fault. He played a good game. I would have liked Kolosov to have gotten another start, but besides the point. Move on to Montreal. Wish Rick was here for this game because this was a wild game. This was literally a tale of 3 separate games, in my opinion. The first period, the Flyers, they reshuffled the lines again. You put Michkov with Couturier and Brink now, which I'm like, okay, that's a little interesting. I can't remember. What was the second line? Wasn't it Zegras? Cates?
They put Zegras and Tippett and Devo back together.
Oh, it's Devo. I'm sorry. You're right. I thought it wasn't Cates. And then they put Konechny on the third line. I give some props here. He's actually holding some accountability here. Konechny with, I think it was Cates and Grabankin, if I remember correctly, right? That third line? Yeah. So you put those top 3 together. And then I think they put Delorier in this game too, if I remember correctly, because he got in the fight.
Yeah, because he fought Jacky.
Mind you, before we get into that, D'Lo rocked Jacky. D'Lo 2-0 against Jacky now. Just want to give that little barb if Rick ends up watching this. But anyway, let's get to the game. This game was a tale of 3 separate games. The first period, all Flyers. They woke up. They were putting shots on net. They got 3 goals in the first 8 minutes. Brink had a ridiculously sick redirect. Absolute beauty of a redirect from about 20 feet out. Top left corner, 1-0, just like that. Montembeault had been struggling, and that's how you get a guy a little shaken up from that. Second goal, if Flyers draw 2 power penalties in. Suddenly on a 5-on-3. Second goal, Zegras, what a spin around pass to York with an absolute bomb on the right side of the net. No shot, Montembeault gets this 2-0 just like that. Then Brink puts in a rebound off of a little bit of a shuffle, putting the puck in front of the net. This is something we have screamed at all year. Throw pucks to the net. See what happens. Finally, Tocchet seemed like he was pushing that message a little bit. 3-0. Flyers outshot Montreal that period 12-2. In my opinion, that may have been the best period of the season. They had Montreal on the heels. It could have been 4-0 because Zegras made a beautiful move in the final minute to potentially get a shot off on Montreal. I don't know if he missed or hit the post. It was something that was relatively close. I don't know what Martin St. Louis said in that second period to wake Montreal up, but that second period was completely different. It's the second part of the game. Montreal came guns a-blazing, and suddenly Montreal was finding the back of the net left and right. This was not one of Dan Vladar's best games. Mind you, I'm not going to put all the blame on him because the defense in front of him was not all that good. He got beat, I believe, short side on one of them, but Montreal put in 4 goals, rapid succession. I know Demidov sniped one top right corner to make it 4-3 on one of the goals. Kirby Dach potted 2. Suzuki kind of put in a A little bit of a mess goal. And just like that, it's 4-3 Montreal. The Flyers were on their heels. Montreal potted 2 power play goals in that span. That whole period was just a complete mess. Flyers going to the locker room now, down 1 suddenly. Third period, looked in the mirror, took a deep breath, started finding their game a little bit. It was more of an even played period, but I think Flyers had a little bit more momentum until Nikita Grabenkin, with about 7-8 minutes to go, puts a shot. I think it hit a body and then kind of redirected a little bit. Beats Montembeault to tie this game at 4. Congratulations, Nikita Grabenkin, getting your first career NHL goal. It's kind of fitting that the former Leaf ends up scoring against Montreal. I know Rick probably didn't like that either. Game goes to overtime, back and forth action, and Montreal is one of the most skilled teams in the NHL in overtime. They were getting bids, but Vladar kind of shook the rust off of it, made some good saves. Flyers got a chance or two they couldn't convert on. We go to the shootout, and the moment they went to the shootout, I said in our group chat, Matt, this game's over. We're winning. And it's just crazy to say because this is not the case 3-4 years ago, Flyers with shootouts. We used to be so bad at them. Now they're probably the best team in the league, being able to send Michkov and Zegras every time on the shootout. Zegras, yet again, free goal. Seems like he's almost a definition of automatic. Michkov got stopped, but yeah, Montreal couldn't bury one. Vladar went 3 for 3. Flyers win this game in the shootout. Eric, what was your take?
Look, honestly, I think the Montreal game was probably the one of, if not the best game the Flyers have played so far this season. And I know it sounds stupid to say, but like the second period. I honestly thought that the Flyers, even in the second period, completely outplayed the Canadiens, where the Canadiens just got very opportunistic. Like they capitalized on whatever few chances that they got. And look, Montreal's power play, like, oh my God, like, I'm sorry, but like that's a thing of beauty. The way they just pass that puck around to each other and like clean, crisp passes make you just like, we took 5 minors in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think they got 2 on the power play.
Yeah, they went, I think, 2 for 4, 2 for 5 on the power play.
Yeah, they went 2 for 4 on the power play. And like I think going in, if I'm not mistaken, we were either first or second in the league on the PK.
They were tied first at the time with Buffalo, yes.
Yeah.
90.5% going into the game.
And so it's like, man, they had our way with us with the power play. Like, it's insane. And look, again, look, they scored 4 in the second. The first 2, I'm not putting those on Vladar. Like, no. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, no chance. The third one, the one, again, Hudson made Gaucher look like a Pee-wee player. I'm sorry. Like, the way he like really shake and bake Goatsy and like
put him in the spin cycle. I remember that.
Goatsy falls to the floor, and then I think like this. I'm raving about Montreal players, which thank God Rick's not here to hear this. Mm-hmm. But like, I'm sure he on that play, like you see Hudson, and I'm sure he did this on purposely, puts the puck off the net to go angled to Kirby Dach for that shot. And again, Vladar should have sealed that post.
That was not have
squeezed in.
That was the weak one. Yes.
Yeah. That was, I think, the weakest one of the 4. And then whatever. That 4th goal, Demidov gets a clean shot.
That was a snipe.
Top of the glove. Like,
pick your spot. Simple as that.
Those are the ones that I'm like, you know what? Like, granted, look, you're probably not going to save it, but those are the ones that are like, oh man, if he could have just got that one save, that like, that would have been the one. But again, like, what are you going to do? But yeah, no, but so that's it. Finally, look, in the third period, Grabenkin got that goal. And also, I want to mention at the same time, like, Samuel Montembeault, like, first period, the guy looked like, again, he looked like a Pee-wee goalie in the first period. He just looked terrible. And then I don't know what he did. He must have done like some kind of voodoo bullshit, like fucking claiming like raising the spirits of goalies past from the Canadians, and all of a sudden you could not get anything past this guy. Like, what's going on? There was that one like where I think it was Michkov, right? Sends it cross ice to Devo, open net, open. Perfect shot by Devo. He didn't win.
And he
got
got
a
robbed.
shot on that.
I remember that right at the end of the second period.
He
Robbery.
just comes across. He just comes across like nobody's like, oh, okay, that's it. I got this. Don't worry. Like, what the fuck?
Tale of two periods. That's part of my argument about that too.
But
Montreal was getting those opportunities and finishing them, being opportunistic, and their goalie completely flipped switch from the first period. Tale of two periods.
But again, I can't. But the thing is, I can't even say that the Flyers played bad that period because they played well. The Flyers played really well that period. It's just that's it. It seemed like whenever there was a chance that went the other way, somehow Montreal capitalized on it.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, what did Montreal finish that game with? Like 18 shots in total?
They 42-20 was the shots. The Flyers, Montreal, the Flyers at one point had a shot favorability of 37-12. That's not a Tocchet game at all.
When we were down 4-3, when Montreal scored to go ahead, in my head I'm like, oh man, all these guys on Twitter or whatever are saying, if we would shoot more, we'd win. Or like,
yeah, you can't use that one for that game.
We're doubling them in shots and somehow winning. Like, I don't know, just honestly a weird game. And luckily we came out with the win because we deserved to win. The way we played, we deserved to win that game. And look, at the end of the day, it went to a shootout, whatever. We're great in the shootout, so good for us. We were able to stop Montreal, which is one of the best overtime teams. We were able to shut them down in overtime. And
we went to our bread and butter. Flyers went to their bread and butter. The shootout, they've been so dominant. They're the best shootout team in hockey right now. When you have an opportunity to send Zegras and Michkov out there in the shootout, you are the best shootout team in hockey, in my opinion. But they played a great game. I'm happy that they ended up capitalizing, getting the dub. It wasn't pretty, but they played a very solid game. When you put up 42 shots on a team of that quality, you did your job. Good win. Flyers get off that little mini game spurt, find their game a bit again. Then we moved to Nashville, and it almost felt like a carbon copy of the game in Philly. Nashville, again, Flyers look crappy out of the gate. Nashville got one of the weirdest goals you'll ever see. Vladar didn't even react to it. Like, the puck was shot. It hit Jamey Drysdale. I think, what was it, Ryan O'Reilly that scored? I don't remember who scored the goal for them.
I think it was O'Reilly because it went off Drysdale and hit O'Reilly.
After this game, but we'll get into that in a minute. O'Reilly, I think it was O'Reilly. I'll double check, but he shoots the puck off of Drysdale. It hits his body and it was Ryan O'Reilly, and finds its way into the net. And Vladar doesn't even react. This wasn't a redirect. It was just the definition of a seeing eye puck. One of the weirdest goals you'll ever see in a game. But even if you took that out, the Flyers are not playing well. I believe they're outshot like 8-1 in the early stages of the game. Flyers could not hold any pressure. Second half of the period, they started getting themselves going a little bit. They drew a power play, I believe, late in that period to get some opportunities. They got the shot differential, I believe, down to like 10-7. So they picked it up, but they were very slow again out of the gate. As you mentioned, going to the Calgary game, slow out the gate. Second period comes along. Cam York comes side to side, finds a wide open Michkov in front of the net, and he buries it. Finally, 9 games later, Matvei Michkov finds a second goal of the game. He pulls off that 700-pound silverback gorilla. No, gorilla's 200 pounds. But the 700-pound silverback gorilla off of his back, gets the friggin' goal drought out of the way, tie game at 1. Flyers then start establishing some forecheck, getting some pressure, getting UC Saros a little uncomfortable. Late in the period, they get a shot on net. Kind of a broken play a little bit. Keats finds the puck, left side of the net, buries it 2-1 suddenly, just like that. Flyers got a lead going into the locker room. Third period comes along, and they were just stifling. And this is something I have said about these Flyers teams consistently. They, in the third period, I shouldn't say I've said this, but this is a trend that I've started to notice. They suffocate you in the third period. It has become a trend that when they have a lead, they start to suffocate, or just in general, they start to suffocate, really. They only allow 4 shots in the period, and it never felt like Nashville got a real quality bid. Maybe one on him that period, but they never really got a bit of quality. They end up potting an empty net, 3-1. Flyers win. Eric, what is your take on this game?
My biggest take from this game is thank God we don't have to play Nashville again this season.
No kidding.
You know what it is? It's like sometimes teams just have your number for what the best thing is that we actually got the 2 wins. Like no matter we played them so bad, but somehow ended up with 2 wins from that, from both those games. Like, look, the Flyers this game, the second game against Nashville, had a 41% expected goals percentage. The previous game, the first one against Nashville that we also won, 35%. So technically, we played a little bit better in the second game, but oh my god, like but why Nashville? I don't get it. They're so bad, but for some reason we just play them even worse. So, couple quick stats on Vladar. So yeah, he lets in that 1 goal that was like that fluke goal. The expected goals against, okay? This is all my stats are according to Money Puck, just to put that out there. But expected goals against 4.052. Actual goals allowed 1. He had a 3.05 goals saved above expected in that game.
That's nuts.
It's nuts. Remember, I think it was in the second period. There's like a flurry in front of him, and he's just stopping everything. It was no, that's like after 2 kind of rough outings for Vladar, like the Toronto game, I don't really put that I don't put that too much on him. Like we said, not Calgary, Montreal, there was those 2 weak-ish goals. So you're like, oh man, like is he kind of maybe regressing? Was the first 4 or 5 games kind of a mirage? But then he pulls this game out against Nashville where he's pretty much like the first half of the game, he was the only guy going. Like he was the only guy going. So no, it was really nice to see like Vladar bounce back game from him. So like just to show that you know what, man, we got something. Like it wasn't a fluke those first few games. Like look, he's not gonna have a 940 for the season. It's not gonna happen.
No
guys, like come on, let's get serious here. Like it's gonna come down. So, but yeah, no, he was great. He was great against Nashville.
I was more than happy with how Vladar. Listen, I said something on social media going into this game that I was a little nervous about because he had back-to-back tough games, and I said, you know what? I feel like this wouldn't have been a bad spot to play Kolosov, just to give Vladar a little bit of a reset, and maybe run Vladar Saturday, and then you can have Urson rest up a little bit and have him ready for Wednesday. But it sounded like they felt a little more comfortable running Vladar. They trusted him and how he's played this year, and he proved me wrong. I was more than happy with how he played. He played a stellar game. The 1 goal was 100% not his fault. That was one of the flukiest bounces I've ever seen in my life. So he played excellent. He was calm. It felt like the Vladar we saw in prior weeks where he just felt calm, cool, and collected in the net. So I was happy to see that. Good on Vladar. Great rebound for the guy. Anything else you got to add before we move on to the final game?
No, just like another game where the Flyers took 5 minor penalties. We got to clean that up.
Another consistent trend is they're taking a lot of penalties. And, when you play that level of defensive shutdown game, you're playing with a little bit of elevated risk. So I get it, but they've got to find a way to take down the penalties because once you start playing good power plays like you saw in the Montreal game, they're going to make you pay. Calgary and Nashville might not make you pay. Montreal, they did. Anyway, moving on to the final game of the week. This Ottawa game was a game that, yet again, the trend continued where the Flyers just continued to have crap starts. They just don't get out of the gates strong. And bad start yet again. Ottawa, 2 goals on their first 4 shots. First one, Sammy Urson had no shot of saving. It was a cross-crease tap-in. 1-0 Calgary. Calgary, listen to me. 1-0 Ottawa, just like that. Second goal comes along, and I saw people giving Urson a little bit of crap for this goal. And I didn't understand why, because it was a point-blank shot on the backhand. And I was like, that's a defensive breakdown. Yeah, I guess we only allowed 2 goals on 4 shots to start the game, but both of those goals were not goals I'm going to put on Erson. I try to be as fair as possible if I'm going to blame the goalie or the defense. And it's a clean shot on the backhand on his left side. Not much you can do when you have a guy like that there. Do you want Erson to make a big save? Yeah, maybe. But again, it's a high-quality bid. They got to wake up more on these starts. Ottawa jumps out to the 2-0 lead, and I think they put up like 8 shots before the Flyers got another one. And before the Flyers even got 1 or something like that. I know they had 2 goals before the Flyers even got their first shot. But I think they had 8. They had 6 in the first period. So no, maybe it was just the 4. But they had those 4 shots. Flyers got their first shot. They outshot the Flyers 6-4 in the first. Again, Flyers not getting much pressure on net, not getting many opportunities. Second period comes along. The switch flips. And again, they find their legs in the second period. Matvei Michkov with the definition of bully puck. Battles off of Sanderson, who is checking against him on the boards, uses his back and girth to push Sanderson off, create some room, get the puck, skate towards the net, and absolutely snipe one right by Ullmark. Back-to-back games and a Michkov goal. Suddenly it's 2-1. Flyers kind of found their legs from there. And Ottawa put on their 11th shot of the game, I believe, with about 7-ish minutes to go in the second period. They were stuck at 11 until the final 2 minutes of the third period. It was less than 2 minutes. It was like a minute and change. Flyers went almost 26 minutes without allowing a shot. That is inconceivable. I don't think I remember a span that long without a team getting a shot on net. Whether it was just lockdown defense or Ottawa being unable to get shots off. I think Ottawa had a power play in that span too, and they couldn't score.
Yeah, they did. They didn't take a shot on the power play.
They just continuously were playing suffocating defense. And this is where I go back to where I mentioned Flyers play with some suffocating defense with the lead. They kind of did it again. And this game, third period comes along. They end up tying the game. Jamey Drysdale buries a goal, ties the game at 2. This game leads to overtime. Unfortunately, however, things don't bend the Flyers' way in OT. Ottawa pots an OT winner. Again, another tap in front of the net. Nothing much Erson can do. 3-2 Sens final. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by our third member of the Flyer Gonna Flyer group. Jamey, how you doing today, brother?
Hey, great. I just want to take this time and say thank you to all the servicemen and women. Without you guys, man, we wouldn't be here today. That includes Canadian servicemen and women as well. Veterans Day is on Tuesday. We shouldn't just be thinking of veterans just on Tuesday. I was at a Wawa with a coffee place, if you're not familiar, but I was talking to 2 gentlemen. I was in there for 2 to 5 minutes originally to just get coffee and iced tea. Wound up being 20 to 25 minutes. We were talking about the Gulf War back in the early 90s. Those 2 gentlemen served. My dad served in the Gulf War. I was there about a year. And when they all came back, we were stationed at Rome, New York, and Griffiths Air Force Base. And I remember this. All the tanks and everything started coming down the street. It was just a parade. People out there cheering. Ben and Jerry's was kind. They had free vendors from them. Burger King, Wendy's. It was all free. They had a massive DJ. It was just a real good time as a party. But, like I said, those brave men and women, man, you guys are amazing at what you do. And you know what? I love you all. Thank you for serving and doing something past and present that I was afraid to do.
Mm-hmm. God bless all those troops that are sacrificing themselves both here in country and overseas. My father's a Vietnam vet, so Dad, I love you. Thank you for your service. And
amazing.
Everyone else out there who served for this country, much appreciated. Well said, Jamey. Well said. We were just going over that final Ottawa game of this week. Jamey, since you're joining in, let me start with you. What did you think of that game?
I was pissed off. I was pissed off at the presser. Actually, didn't like Tocchet calling out Zegras. That's something that John Tortorella didn't do. He never called out, like a player specifically.
Mhm.
And, to be honest with you, I thought I saw something with Tocchet that I didn't appreciate. Yes, it was Zegers' mistake, that cost the goal. You know what I mean? But how many other mistakes throughout the game were costly? Mafia Michkov made a few turnovers, but the whole team was turning pucks over the whole game. You know what I mean? And yes, that one result ended in the back of the net. Now, I understand where Tocchet's coming from, and I'm not mad at him about it. But Zegers has been so darn good for the Flyers, and he's been a power play catalyst. He has that power play igniting, some fire there during, like 10th or 11th, in power play. I mean, to call him out for one blunder, I thought that took guts, in my opinion. I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't have said anything at all. I would have just taken that on the chin and just rolled, and said, hey, what you going to do? It's just one of those things. But to actually say it, yeah, so it ticks me off a little bit. I'm going to be honest. I won't speak on all Flyers fans because I don't think every Flyers fan's in my corner on that. And I don't expect them to be, but we could agree to disagree. So, yeah, I was a bit ticked off, from that. With that being said, Mafia Michkov scored. There wasn't really a celebration from people, but it could have been, again, I'm not going to speculate. It could have been because, they were shocked, like we talked about, shocked that he scored because that was a hell of a goal. So, to be with you, that was pure muscle that scored that goal. So if he did, in fact, like I think Anthony DeMarco mentioned it, I saw
put on some muscle over the offseason. Yeah, I've seen that.
Muscle in the offseason, he used it all in that goal, and he's absolutely right. That was pure muscle, what he used or weight or whatever. That was a tough goal to score. I was surprised he actually scored it because honestly, like throughout the course of the season, that's a puck battle he would have lost and would have given up earlier, let's say the first 3 games of the season or something of that nature. So that was good to see that Michkov, is finally turning the corner here, in a positive note. He has scored, in back-to-back games. So that's something positive to take away. I just feel like every time they play Claude Giroux is like a catalyst, man. He has that team. He just wants to beat the Flyers, and I think he ignites, the Ottawa Senators. They just have the Flyers number. I think, dating back, I think they lost both to them last year. It's just ever since Claude Giroux joined that organization, the Flyers just haven't had any luck against the Ottawa Senators. Whether they come back and take them to overtime and eventually the Flyers win or vice versa, it just seems like Ottawa just has the Flyers number right now. And I think a large part has to do with Claude Giroux. He has still a lot of good friendships here, in Philadelphia. Sean Couturier, is one of his, besties, so they may not have, Scott Lawton or something of that nature, but they still have, Sean Couturier, who knows, Claude Giroux very well. I just think, so it wasn't a terrible game by the Flyers. Honestly, I'm going to be honest, I didn't expect them to beat the Montreal Canadiens, so take that as a watch. You know what I mean? So I expected them to lose to Montreal. I really did. I thought they beat Nashville because Nashville has gotten off to a bit of a rocky start, although they're starting to come out of it a bit, but they got off to a rocky start a little bit. And so I expected the Flyers beat Nashville, but I did have them losing yesterday, not in overtime, not in overtime. I had them losing in regulation, 3-2. So it was kind of ironic that they gathered a point. And I'd say, yeah, I understand about Sam Ersson, but I thought he played, rather well, in that game. I don't think he made, too many blunders. So that was a positive, to take away that Ersson, I guess, looks healthy, something to move forward to help Dan Vladar there, because Dan can't stand on his head every damn game by himself,
Agreed.
But like Jamey Drysdale, the kid is just killer this year. And, we called it on the podcast. Jamey Drysdale is just phenomenal this year. He just looks very confident. Man, I'm happy he got his second of the season. I expected him to finish the season with 55 points, before the season began anyway. So, Jamey Drysdale just continues to kill it, and the entire defense for that matter. And like Noah Juleson, believe it or not, has, surprised me a bit. So, kudos to him for putting all his blunders behind him. He looks like a solidified, thing, playing back there. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I got.
That's honestly, it's funny you mentioned Noah Juleson. I put out a tweet on him yesterday saying he's starting to grow on me a bit. One of my followers mentioned about him. He's kind of given off like a Nick Sealer vibe when he first came here, like a little bit of a reclamation project on the blue line. Not the same style of player, but just the story he had of coming here. So it was cool to see him. Definitely, him turning it around for sure. Eric, how about you? What was your take on this game?
Yeah, but like we said, another slow start. Like we have to figure out what's going on here. Like we can't start slow like this all the time, every game. Like this one really almost like we're lucky in a way to get out with a point because like we're down 2-0 with what it was like already 5 minutes into the game. It was already 2-0 or something like that. We can't. And look, after that, I thought like after like the midway point of the first, like like the Flyers took off, really started dominating that game, and like we said, like they went over like 22 minutes or something like that without a shot on goal between the second and the third Ottawa. So it's like if we could just manage these slow starts and actually start at the buzzer when the horn goes to start the period, you start playing. You start playing.
Do it again.
So, way to put it.
So like, come on, guys, like, because you see, like, we're very resilient. Like a lot of our, like the wins that we're getting, where we're coming back and everything, like the teams in the past would have just crumbled and be like, no. So at least from there, we could say, you know what? At least this team is more resilient. They don't give up. They keep on attacking. It doesn't matter. They're always in the game. So that's a positive. But again, we gotta stop these slow starts.
Yeah.
And look, Erson was solid. Erson was huge. I thought he played really well. Again, you can't blame him on either one of those goals. No. Like the Amadio one, the one that like it was a completely defensive breakdown. Like, I'm sorry. Like, what do you want him to do? It's just
I did not understand why people mad at him at that second goal at all. That was not his fault in the least bit.
And not right. Amadio is starting to become one of these little Flyer killers there because I think he scored in the first game too against us. So we gotta watch him. But
I did the first goal there. Ironically enough, that was crazy. But
look again. Like even expected goals percentage, we had 55%. Like we basically played better than they did according to the numbers. We just gotta have faster starts, man. Faster starts. That's it.
So Eric, do you think that's an organizational thing with the faster starts? Because this seems to be like the niche of the Flyers for like the past decade.
Well, look, like Tocchet said, like in his presser after, he's like, it's on me. I don't know if like our morning meetings are too much for the guys or if it's not enough. He has to figure it out. But like, I don't know. But even with Torts, I find like it wasn't as much. Well, I think with Torts, remember at one point it was the second periods. For whatever reason,
they had horrible second periods.
So
Tochet's the first.
Tocchet is like the first 5 to 10 minutes of the first periods. So I don't know. I think it might actually be a coaching thing. I don't know. I don't know if it's in their heads what it is. I don't overconfidence maybe because again, Ottawa's a good team, so like how are you overconfident against Ottawa? But like a team like Nashville, let's say, where it's like, oh, we got this in the bag, so you're not playing as hard. But then at the end of the day, even teams like Nashville, as bad as they are, they still have some talent. So you got to be careful.
Nashville will right the ship. They're not as bad as what they are, and they're starting to come
in. Centers. They have no centers. That's their issue.
They have nothing down the middle.
Stamkos is still Stamkos. Yossi's still Yossi. And they have a phenomenal goaltender in Saros. So I think they're going to be okay, to be honest with you. They may not be like the greatest team, but I expect them to be on the playoff bubble for sure.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I don't have that confidence.
I don't either. I can't see them making that much of a push with how bad they are down the middle. But, yeah. Any other things before we move on to our next topic?
Nah, I'm going to save the rest for the next topic.
All right. So, the name of this episode is called Tocchet Turbulence. We have had some criticism pretty much over Rick talking on a number of things. So let's go into this a little more. There has been some things that some people might agree with, some people might disagree with about a month into Rick Tocchet's tenure here. Eric, let me start with you. What are the things that stand out about Rick that have you either agree, disagree, or just in general that you want to get off your chest with him so far?
Okay, well, look, I want to say this. I don't think Tocchet is a bad coach. I think he's a good coach. I actually think like he's doing some really good things here. Like look at what like like the biggest thing was with us also going into the season was like the defense. We lost Brad Shaw. Like how's is the defense gonna be the same? Are they gonna regress? Whatever. Man, look at what Cam York is doing. Like he's there was at 9 points in 11 games, something like that, and he's playing like back to like that level that he was a couple years ago, if not better.
Yeah.
Drysdale's becoming like a shutdown defenseman pretty much, like almost. And now you see that the offense is starting to come. So like Drysdale's playing great, Sanheim's playing great, the defense is playing great. His system is very friendly to the goalies. Look at what Vladar's doing. Even Urson's putting up some good numbers now. So like there's some positives there.
Mhm.
My big issue with Rick Tocchet, and it wasn't as much as an issue when Torts was here. And I'm not saying that I don't think they should have fired Torts. No, like it was time. Like they had to have fired Torts. He at that point, like he was going batshit crazy. There was something going on. I don't know. Like he had to go. That's not what I'm saying. Now, is this it's not only a Tocchet issue. It's a lot of coaches are like this. It's basically, I find he prioritizes his veterans way too much over other players.
Mhm.
And this is an issue. Because look, and this is my biggest concern right now. The Flyers worked so hard to fix that locker room. They were saying, oh, there was different fractions in the locker room, this group, that group, they weren't together, it wasn't a team. They worked so hard. They brought in Torts. They fixed our locker room. It was basically the team versus Torts. Everybody versus Torts. Now, with Tocchet, when you start prioritizing veterans over any other players, over rookies, or over players that have like maybe 3, 4, 5 years experience, if you're a young player and you see that what a veteran is doing, and if a veteran is playing bad and he has no consequence to his actions, and then you have a player of 1, 2, 3 years experience that will get benched, lose ice time, lose power play time for the same reasons, now you're starting to fracture again. Because now you're causing issues in the locker room. Could. I'm not saying it has. I'm saying it could. Because you're going to have a player that now is going to look at somebody else and be like, yeah, but buddy, like, fuck, you made 3 mistakes today. I made 2. You didn't lose a shift. I lost 3. So, like, that's, you have to like really ride that fine line, and you have to be careful. Because like one thing that Tocchet's been saying lately, and in a way, like I find he hasn't been doing it, is he's like, oh, when they play better, I'll give them more ice time. When they play better, I'll give them more ice time. Now look, I'm gonna use Mishkov as an example. The first, I would say 8 to 9 games, I'll admit Mishkov was ass. He was not playing well at all. And I understand. And he lost his minutes. He wasn't getting minutes. That's fine. I'm fine with that. He didn't deserve the minutes. But you had Konechny, who started the season just as bad, and he did not miss a shift. He didn't lose a minute of ice time. That's an issue. Now that Mishkov is playing better, like look, I'm gonna give you some numbers here, quick, okay? This is all 5-on-5, so not even power play, just 5-on-5. Expected goal percentage and Corsi. The last 4 games, so basically this week, okay? Against Calgary, Mishkov's expected goals, 66.9%. Montreal, 81.1%. Nashville, 51.9%. Ottawa, 55.4%. These are great possession numbers. Corsi, Calgary, 59.1%. Montreal, 90% Corsi. Sorry, I lost. Nashville, 50%. Against Ottawa, 56.5%. Now, yet, what's the common theme between all these games? He's averaging under less than 12 minutes a game, 5-on-5. And now, even the power play, because now remember they made basically the Cates line and Zegras with with Drysdale is basically the power play 1 now, right? It's power play 1, right? Okay, so they're getting the most minutes. That's fine. But look, now Forster's hurt. That's an opportunity right there to give Mishkov more minutes. Okay? But they put Tippett there instead. They put Tippett, who's been struggling the last few games. But they put Tippett there instead. Mishkov got 59 seconds of power play time last night. 59.
And they had what? 3 power plays?
I think so, because I think the leader was, I forget who, and I didn't have the stat, but I had 3 minutes something.
They had 1 power play. The other unit was out the entire time.
Yeah, but that's it. But what I'm saying is now, okay, you said that you want to find the minutes. Put him on power play 1. Put him on power play 1 to replace Forrester. What can we try? Can we try? Like, please? Like, it's the only way right now. And like, I get it. Look, your lines are balanced right now. Maybe you don't want to mess with the lines. That's fine. That's fine. But at least put him back on power play 1, taking Forrester's spot or something. Like, let's figure it out. Because, like, come on, man. And also, like, look, yesterday's game, they called up Carl Gunstrom there. I may be messing his name. And they put him on the 3rd line.
Yep.
Why did you take Gabrenkin off that line? Why? Like, give him an opportunity. Come on. Like, look, I understand he's gonna make mistakes. He's a rookie. Rookies make mistakes. That's what happens.
Yeah.
You know? And then, you know, like, again, like, sorry, to go back to Mishkov. Like, oh yeah, but guys, the turnovers. And granted, yes, he was making a lot of mistakes in the beginning. And like, he's still maybe now even he'll turn the puck over once or twice. But like, there's some, I forget who says this, but there's someone that has this line. Go on NHL.com and go click on turnovers. Who has the most turnovers in the league? It's going to be a lot. It's either it's a really shitty player or it's some of the best players in the league, because they have the puck all the time. They're going to turn it over. They're going to make mistakes. It happens. But they have the puck all the time. They need the puck all the time. It's going to happen every once in a while. And if we're going to start benching him or cutting his minutes just because he makes one little turnover or something like that, like, come on, let's get serious here.
Good rant. Good rant.
Perfect.
For me, with Tocchet, there's a few things. I will say I love how well they played defensively under him. That is a major improvement. The goals allowed is down. The shots per game allowed is down. Those are 2 massive pluses that you cannot ignore under what Tocchet's system has been. They have been suffocating on the defensive end. And that's great. You know, Torts has always been a defensive style of coach, but they didn't show this level of play under Torts in any of his 3 years here. Now, part of that could be talent related for sure, but they're playing a much more in-tune defensive game. You know, they're holding guys against the boards and not allowing them to get any true opportunities whatsoever. They have played, in my opinion, a very solid tone defensive style. Obviously, the goalies are playing better too, so that always makes it look better too. But shots per game is way down. There's a few things with Tocchet I point out that frustrate me. Number one is something kind of reiterating off of what you just said. I gotta. That seems like his favorite words is I gotta do this. I gotta give this guy more minutes. I gotta give this guy more playing time. I've got to find ways to get. Don't just gotta. I gotta see it. You need to show me this. Like, it seems like he is a great politician at saying what he needs to say, saying all the right things. But when push comes to shove and the game starts, the right things aren't shown on the ice. You know, as you mentioned with Michkov, for example, first handful of games, I won't say 8 or 9. I think it was probably more like 5 or 6 games. He kind of was very off. But the last dozen games at least, he has been significantly better. He's getting more opportunities. He's finding his legs, and he's still seeing maybe 13-ish minutes a game. He's seeing less ice time now than he did with Tortorella. Now, I understand people's bringing up that he may have been out of shape, and it looks like there was definitely some truth to this now. You know, the guy definitely suffered some type of ankle injury in the offseason that may have hampered what he could or could not have been able to do. But at the end of the day, he's showing some signs of improvement, and that needs to be shown in his ice time. And as you mentioned, he's been happy. Kennedy had a horrible start. Now he's playing better, not as good as his numbers show, because you know he potted 2 empty netters. He's kind of getting a little bit boasted up from that, but he has been playing better. Mm-hmm. But prior to this guy was still getting 19, 20 minutes a game. Sean Couturier, we mentioned, has been the definition of hit or miss this year. He either will play great in a game or terrible in a game. And he was also in 19, 20 minutes a game, it felt like. Christian Dvorak, I remember one game had 23 minutes. Mind you, the game went to overtime and they did have some time in the PK, okay. But he was your leading ice guy. And no disrespect to Devo. He's a nice, fine third-line player. He should not be your leading ice getter. You need to hold veterans accountable the same way you hold rookies. And that was something, as you mentioned, Tortorella was always consistent about until the end, where he was a little bit off the rail, a lot of it off.
He just lost his mind.
But at the end of the day, the Flyers need to look at Tocchet needs to look at himself in the mirror and say, listen, I'm saying these things that I got to do, but at the end of the day, I have to do them. One of the positives I will give Tocchet, I like his goalie rotation. I don't think he's overplaying anyone too much at all. Even when Vladar was on his run, he didn't play him 5-6 games in a row. That was something Dave Haxtell used to always do that drove me batty. So that's something we definitely can look at a positive perspective that he was never doing. That he's doing intelligently with the goalies as well. But overall, my issues with him, they've got to find ways to get more shots on net. That's a definite. He's got to stand by what he preaches, because otherwise you're just a politician. And at the end of the day, the guys who are playing well, i.e. Michkov, when they're getting going, because I agree, came out of the gates rough, you've got to give them their opportunities to play well. Because as, again, Eric mentioned, the guys who have the puck on their sticks a lot are going to turn it over. You've got to get these guys, ignore the bad, and take a look at the good and enjoy and realize there's going to be growing pains with this. Another guy who I think deserves some ice time more is Dravekin. He seems like he sees 11, 12 minutes a night when I feel like he's played at a third, even sometimes second line level some of these games. Nikita Dravekin is another guy that deserves some opportunities. Where a guy like Owen Tippett, who has been on a massive slide lately, he's got 1 point in his last 9 games. That needs to change too. So those are my takes when it comes to Tocchet. Jamey, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think you both mentioned some great, things about, problems and non-problems. I'm going to echo a little bit of both of you. Eric hit the nail on the head there. I think there's a bit of mixed messaging. The front office for the past, 2 to 3 years has said patience, patience, patience. We're going to rebuild. We're going to rebuild this. We're going to rebuild that. At the exit interviews, Danny Briere was like, nah, there's no guarantee they make the playoffs. They're still in a rebuild. If they don't make the playoffs, it's okay, as long as they make an improvement upon last year. To echo that, in his preseason presser to the fans, media, or whatever, he echoed the same comments. There's no guarantee to make the playoffs. It's not about making the playoffs. It's about taking the next step to becoming a playoff contender for years to come. Not even a contender for like chips, just becoming a mainstay for playoffs. That's what they were building towards. And I think that when you're playing a veteran-heavy lineup and stuff like that, I think there's a bit of mixed messaging. Flyers fans have stood tall with this organization. They've been patient enough. But when they start seeing Michkov getting less ice time, Gerbekin getting less ice time, but Tocchet mentioning it in his pressers, I got to find a way to get Michkov more ice time. He specifically said it. I need to find a way to get Nikita Gerbekin more ice time. That's one guy you need to talk about. This is quote unquote. He needs the ice time. I can't believe I still have to answer questions about Mafi. He's the one that should get more ice time. And you don't give it to either. It's a bit of mixed messaging. And that's why Flyers fans are a little upset, even though the Flyers have a favorable record right now. They're 7-5-3, and they had made some headway. It's mixed messaging from what Danny Briere and Keith Jones said, and it's mixed messaging from what Rick Tocchet says himself. He says one thing but does the other. It's like you said, it's like a politician. I'm not here to play Joe Biden. I'm not here to play Donald Trump. I'm not here to be President Bush. I'm not here to be the next president. But you sound like a politician. You sell us on one end, but do the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's mixed messaging. And I think that's why Flyers fans rightfully are a little upset right now. I mean, like you mentioned, 59 seconds on the power play out of 3 power plays, it's a total of 6 minutes. How does a Mafi Michkov have over even a minute of ice time of power play time. Like that's mind-boggling to me. You know what I mean? He's playing 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes a night. He should be playing 17 or 18 minutes a night, 19. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll take it a step further. I think there's something, I don't know if something's going on or not, but Travis Konechny was giving Mitchkov an earful after one of the power plays, like on the bench. And is that a problem? I don't know. Are they upset because of his summer training that he admitted to? You know, saying where, you know, like he didn't train or something of that nature off season to reach that? Are some players upset by that? I don't know. But for Konechny, who has made many mistakes, many turnovers, to even say anything to Mitchkov when he's been doing the same thing, I think, yes, he's a leader. I get it. But maybe that's not the time or place for that to happen. Maybe that's a time place to happen in the locker room or after, because he doesn't really understand what he's saying anyway. Is there an interpreter there on the bench to interpret what he's saying? You know, like, and one thing I do give kudos to talking about is communication, you know, but like there are times to communicate and times not to. Times to communicate would be a practice where you could have Zamul or Grebekin or something like that try to relay a message who are more refined in the English language than Mishkov is. You know what I mean? Or it's just a lot of mixed messaging from the top down. And I think that's what Flyers fans are upset about. They're upset because they see Tocchet leaning towards the veterans, Mitchkov being benched, or even rookies being benched at times and only running two lines there late in the game. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. How are these young players supposed to take the next step if they're held out in certain situations? It's not like this is playoffs. Playoffs, understand, you got to earn your stripes. But this is regular season here. They should be learning on the fly here, you know, in those situations. This is the time for them to start making the mistakes. Excuse me. But there's a lot of mixed messaging.
Yeah. I think you guys both make some great points. At the end of the day, it's just we've got to find a fine line of what you can and can't do. And Tocchet, like any coach, has his faults. There's been positives, but he's got to really, at the end of the day, find the right way to get these guys the deserved ice time that they need and to stand by what he says. Case in point. Same goes with Konechny and Couturier as leaders on this team. Michkov is the future. You have another massive future piece in the pipeline coming in, Porter Martoni. You're going to do the same to him if he starts making mistakes. You've got to look at these guys and say, listen, you were all kids once. Let them grow and mature. Be patient with them. Eric, anything else to add before we head to the question mailbag part of this?
Yeah, just I have one more thing quick. Sorry, I can't remember who said it, but I know it was one of like the insiders. Was a big guy. It was either a Freeman or a Saravalli, it was one of those guys. And they said it, I think, earlier in the season, which it was one of those things I really kind of like, I don't know. Basically, they said Tocchet is here to win, not to develop.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That one rubbed. Now again, it wasn't one of the Flyers guys said it. Was somebody outside that said it. So it's like I took that a bit like a grain of salt. Yeah, okay, whatever. It's national guy.
Like ownership getting involved.
And now you're like, now I see what's going on a little bit now, and I'm like, maybe they had a point.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's true, that's concerning to me.
Mm-hmm.
Only because Mishkov is 20 years old.
Yeah.
Zegras is 24. I think Drysdale, same thing.
Forster's 23.
25. Yeah, Forster's 23. York's 25. Mm-hmm. You have, like I said, you have Martin coming. You have Bump coming. You have Bonk coming. We have this Luchenko. This is a young team that need to develop. The veterans that we have, some of them, yeah. Look, I love TK as a player. He's struggled this year, but in general, I've always liked TK. But we don't have those veterans. We don't have the McKinnons. We don't have the Dreisaitl's. We don't have these guys on like two lines that can carry a team. And okay, yeah, let's put this rookie or this second-year player on this third line, whatever. And we don't have to play much because we got these big guys. No, the future of our team is these young guys. And if you keep on dicking them around and in favor of veterans who are don't I'm sorry, but at this point either aren't up to snuff to what they were, or like someone like, let's say, like Devo, like you brought up, and I like Devo, and I like what he brings to that line. Okay, but like when you start giving these guys all kinds of minutes and players that are actually your future that you should be developing, that actually need to learn on the job at this point, if you're favoring other players instead of them and you're stagnating their development, then what are we doing here? Then what was the point of the rebuild then?
Yeah.
You know, like that's just whatever.
Good points all across. And yeah, I agree. Development should be number one priority over winning, especially at this stage. We got a long way to go. We're not there yet. All right. So with that being said, we're going to go on to a little bit of a lightning round when it comes to a Flyera mailbag. We got a couple questions this week. We asked our fans just to give us some topics that you want us to talk about. So I'm going to go over them. This first question here comes from Sasuke Flyboy. His question on the 7 stated, assume they trade Tippett. What are we looking for in a return? Give specific examples if you can. Eric, give me a quick answer on this. What do you think?
Well, look, at the end of the day, like, yeah, he said Tippett, but if the Flyers are going to make a trade, obviously it's going to probably come from a position of strength. So it's going to be definitely a winger going the other way. Yeah. I think it's defense. I think they need one more defenseman to round out the top 4. Like, nothing against Nick Seeler. I think he's great. Yeah. It's just that, like, if we could get somebody better to play alongside Drysdale, someone like a little bit more offensive, but still like has like a strong defensive game, that'd be ideal, obviously. Or you could even maybe put Drysdale with Sanheim and get another righty to play with York on a second pair. Again, that would be ideal. So I think you're looking at a defenseman. Who? That's the question, right? And I put out some. I have a few names here. A guy that I think would be like the comp to like when the Flyers brought in Chris Pronger. Now again, the guy has a full no move. He has a full no move. There's probably a really good chance he's not getting moved. He's old though. He's 35. But the way Nashville's going right now, if I'm Briere, I'm on the phone being like, hey, you think Roman Josi would have any interest in leaving?
Oh, that's spicy.
Like, he only has 2 more seasons after this one. So it's not like you're because he's 35, right? So it's not like you're going to be
all for that.
You know, it's not like you're going to be hooked to this contract for like another 7 or 8 years. It's only 2 more after this one. And he's still, like, he's hurt right now, but he's still like an elite-ish defenseman. So that's a guy I would, in the older vein, that I would look at. Younger, Minnesota's looking to make a move. Maybe a David Juracek. Maybe if you want to get like a young guy. The only problem is like with Juracek is where do you play him in the lineup at this moment right now? That's the only problem. But yeah, but like names like that, because centers, forget it. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like, it's nobody's trading centers. Nobody. Unless you want like a Nazem Kadri, maybe a Ryan O'Reilly. But again, this doesn't solve any of our issues. So yeah, I'm thinking defense and Roman Josi. Keep an eye out.
With it. Jamey, so you just joined back in. I'll give you the quick rundown. We had a mailbag question. We're doing a little mailbag state segment. Bleh, brain fart. Question here. Assume they trade Tippett. What are we looking for in return? Give specific examples if you can.
Yeah. So Owen Tippett, Oliver Bonk, in the first or second for Quinn Hughes. That will happen. That will happen by the trade deadline. I'm telling you right now, Quinn Hughes is going to be a Flyer. There's every billing for him to be a Flyer, and I think that's your 1A, 1B defenseman because Nick Seeler's contract expires at the end of this year, but I think he's going to want to try to get a payday, and I don't know if the Flyers are willing to give him, his last, because he's looking for his last contract here. You know what I mean? It's understandable, and he's been a great Flyer. I just don't know if he's willing to take a pay cut to stay with Philly. So, with that being said, Quinn Hughes will be a Flyer.
I like it. Honestly, build the Jamey statue if that ends up happening. Build the Jamey statue.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I mean, but with that being said, that's if you can move Owen Tippett with that. You know, like if he continues to play the way he does, I mean, when he's on, look like the beginning of the season, like Eric, both of you all said, you know, how streaky he is. You know, like in the beginning of the season, he couldn't be stopped. And we're like, oh, okay. Is this the 35, 40 goal Tippett that we've been craving for years? You know, like at least 30, right? So, and then all of a sudden he's on that downward spiral. It just looks, and it's not, when he's bad, he's bad. It just looks, and he probably doesn't feel this way, but he looks uninterested, like very lethargic. You know what I mean? Like I agree with Eric. That was one of the mixed messaging, you know, from Rick Tocchet. You want to hold players accountable, then, yeah, if you want to hold these rookies accountable, then start holding your vets accountable. And that's one thing that Torts did very well, was hold everybody accountable. You know what I mean? And he didn't care. Look, he benched Sean Couturier. You know, he benched the captain. You know what I mean? So, like, he was, no, but should Tocchet be doing that? I don't know. If you want to do this mixed messaging, maybe somebody needs to deserve to get benched, you know, from time to time. So, but, like, if Tippett continues down, I don't know, man. He's going to be hard to move. So they might have to, I hate to say this, but it might have to be Bobby Brink, you know, getting that. It definitely would. And I love Brink. He's having a monster year. You know what I mean? Even when he's not producing points, he's just a monster along the walls and winning puck battles, doing the small things, you know, that stand out to fans. If it's standing out to fans, that's why coaches love him. You know what I mean? Because they know him better than us. But, you know, but yeah, Quinn Hughes is going to be a Flyer one way or the other. I
like it. All right, here's mine. Yes, it would most likely be for a top 4 defenseman. I'm still on board with the Bowen Byram ride. Buffalo's starting to have the wheels come off again. They're tied for last in the East. Nothing new there. I feel bad for Buffalo Sabres fans. But I'm still on board with either one of Bowen Byram or Owen Power. I think it makes a lot of sense. Buffalo needs help at the wing. We could use a top 4 defenseman. If you could get a top 6 center, great. I'd love to move Sean Couturier down to the third line and run Zegras and another top 6 center there. But as Eric mentioned, I don't believe that's realistic. So my speculative picks is Owen Tippett and maybe one of Emil Andre, most likely Emil Andre, going to Buffalo for one of Owen Power or Bowen Byram. Probably Tippett straight up for Byram. You'd have to add a little more for Power. That would be mine. All right, let's move on to our second question here. Hold on one moment. I got to pull this one up. Question number 2. This comes from the Boston Gary. He states here, what will be the move at the trade deadline or sooner, defense or center? Jamey, I think you already kind of answered this one, so let me start with you real quick.
Yeah, defense, Quinn Hughes.
Nice, quick to the point. Defense, Quinn Hughes. Eric, how about you?
Well, if they add it, because again, like, what direction are they going to be going, right? So if they add, it's most probably going to be a defenseman, basically like I just spoke about.
Yep.
Again, who? I don't know. Could it be Quinn Hughes? Could it be Roman Josi, David Juracek?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, but they're gonna. I think Danny's definitely looking for a defenseman over a center, because I think just centers is so much harder to come across.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, like, who knows, right? Like, if they're not in position, maybe they sell off. Like, we have Devo, who's on an expiring contract. Noah Juleson, who's playing really well. Maybe some team takes him to be a depth defenseman on their team. So that could be a possibility too. And, you know, like, because once Risto comes back, man, there's going to be a bit of a logjam up here. Like, we're going to still have, like, Andre's up now, and he's playing super well. Plus, you have Risto. Plus, you have Yening. Plus, you have Zamula. Zamula, I think, is gone. I think probably.
I think he's been sent to Ellis Island.
Yeah, I think as soon as Risto comes back, Zamula is traded. Pretty much. I think there's pretty much a deal in place right now, and it's just that they're just waiting for Risto to come back. So yeah, but yeah, I think defense definitely.
Yeah. And to double down on my last point, yeah, defense. I could see it happening before the deadline. You make a good point with Risto. Once he's back, Zamula's probably gone. And especially if you add another defenseman, what does that fit Juleson and Andre? You're going to carry 8 D-men and 13 forwards? They might do that, but with the rotate, and honestly, blue line guys, I feel like are more susceptible to injury. So you keep Juleson and Andre, maybe move the Andre back down to the AHL unless for an injury to come up, and then eventually bring him back up. There's a lot of possibilities there, but I'm sticking with what I said. I think Zamula will eventually get moved. I think you said or waived, and maybe one of Tippett. Hopefully not Brink because he's starting to grow on me more, but Tippett and maybe another piece over to Buffalo for one of Byram or Power. Another guy I named coming on an expiring contract. Calgary's will be selling soon. Rasmus Anderson would be interesting. I don't know if he'd want to come here. It's not a guy that's really matched with the Flyers in recent memory, but that's just another guy you could think about if you're thinking about the rental course that you could potentially sign later down the line. It is a little bit risky, obviously, but just a name to throw out there as well. So, and Jamey makes a good point. Nick Sealer's up soon. So they're going to probably need another guy to fill in the shoes eventually. And year after that, Ristolainen's up. So we'll see where they go from there. All right. Next question here. This one's a little bit from north of the border. I'll call this a little bit of a trollish question, but we'll answer it anyway just for the hell of it. What are the odds Michkov asked for a trade because of poor treatment by the Flyers coaching staff since he's been in Philly? I will put this at less than 1%. Two reasons. One, Danny and crew did everything they could to get this guy over here early, 2 years early, in fact. Two, he was very adamant about coming to Philadelphia during the draft, just in general. I know there's been a little bit of growing pains. Number three, Michkov had nothing but positive things to say about John Tortorella when he was here. So I don't think a month's sample size of him having a slow start that he has even acknowledged that may have been part of due to his off-season training. And number four, the upper management will probably move any other player before him to keep this kid happy. So I put that odds of less than 1%. Jamey?
Yeah.
Mine's 0.00. He's untradeable. And the only way that he would get traded is if there was an inkling that he would not re-sign, as an RFA. Like that he'd hold out, and he would force the Flyers' hand to move him. That would be the only way. So I'm sorry, but you don't trade because he's having, maybe some issues that he's starting to come out of, whether it be communication issues with Rick Tocchet. We have to understand he's 20 years old, you know what I mean? And this is a new coaching staff. He's still learning the language, and stuff as well. So, yes, there was an off-season thing, whether it be an injury, whether it be training. He said yesterday that he had the rest. He didn't, in terms of the off-season, in terms of preparation. That season took a lot on his body. He's never played 82 games before. In the KHL, they only play, 58 or something of that nature? Yeah. So you're factoring in 24 more games. That's a lot. You know what I mean? And him coming over was a bit emotional, for him and his family. He needed that rest. Whether that put him behind the 8 ball for the season or not, it's not enough for me to say, yes, he's going to get moved because he may be having some difficulty with coaching or something of that nature, or trying to find out of it. So 0.00.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. Same here. Like
0.00.
Zero. Look, if there really is, like, maybe now or down the line, an issue like with Michkov and the coach, like, I'm 100% sure Danny and Jonesy are gonna go down, talk and be like, listen, like,
get your shit together or you're going.
Yeah, and I'm sure, and like, if that doesn't get through, like, I'm sure, like, I think at a certain point, it's gonna be ciao, buddy, like, talk, you're fired. Like, either work with us or you're gone, Because look, we saw, as Flyer fans, what happened when the organization chose the coach over the players.
Yep.
Okay. And when they shipped out Gossesbear and they shipped out fucking Voracek. Yep. Because Alan Vigneault can't win with these guys.
No.
And now, like, look, fucking Gossesbear, now, like, Voracek retired, but Gossesbear is still having success in this league. So who really was the issue? You do not choose.
AV was terrible.
You do not choose a coach over a young, talented player. I'm sorry. Unless it really is
Peter DeBoer.
Yeah.
See Peter DeBoer.
So I'm sorry. Like, no. Michkov's not going anywhere.
All right. Final question before we go to next week's games. I think this next one we're post, let's all say it at the same time with one word. Is there a risk of Mitch Cobb returns to KHO if Todd keeps reduced his ice time? At the count of 3, gentlemen. 1, 2, 3. No. Not happening. All right. Let's move on to next week's games. Flyers have 3 coming up. All against West Young Conference teams. Home against Edmonton, and then a back-to-back Friday and Saturday going against the Blues and the, I think it's Dallas Stars, the second one. Back-to-back on the road. Jamey, let's start with you. What's our record for the week?
1-2.
Who's the win?
I think they win Wednesday.
Wednesday against the Blues. Blues have been struggling, so.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Wednesday against the Oilers. I'm sorry. Blues is Friday. So,
Yeah,
Wednesday at home against the Oilers. That's interesting. Oilers just had 9 put on there.
I think they lose to the Blues as like a trap game for me. Like we in football trap games that are supposed to be gimmies. Like, for instance, the Sharks the other night upset, the Winnipeg Jets, and that was supposed to be a gimme for the Jets. Actually, I'm playing Alex, in my fantasy here. I was like, oh, cool. I'll tie him in the win column here. Nope.
Well, trash talk on the show. Okay, I see how it is. Eric, how about you?
I think they go 2-1. They beat Edmonton. I think Noah Cates shuts down Connor McDavid like usual. Like it's like a piece of cake for Noah Cates.
Oh, yeah.
You're not doing nothing, Connor. So yeah, we beat the Edmonton. I think we beat the Blues. I was high on the Blues, but there is something wrong with that team this year. I don't know what's going on, but they're a dumpster fire at the moment. So I think we beat the Blues and lose to the Stars. So
I am going to go. I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to keep the 2-1 trend going. They eke by Edmonton 4-3. They lose a trap game to the Blues 4-2. And then they rebound and shock us all and beat the Stars 5-3. So 2-1 this week.
Not bad.
All right. So with that being said, that's going to wrap this up. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. If you like what you see, give us a comment. Any suggestions for next episode or future episodes, we would love to hear. But as always, that's going to do it for this episode of Flyer Gonna Flyer. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, thank you all for tuning in, and let's go Flyers.